Y'all sit down for a second. And so blind Bartimaeus, he sat by the highway side. Give me more, give me more. He sat by the highway side begging. The lowest occupation known to man. I don't see anybody putting in a resume to be a beggar. I don't see anybody waiting to be interviewed to be a beggar. He sat by the highway side begging. How degrading, how demoralizing must it have been for a man to have to rely on handouts just to eat, handouts just to survive. But as long as he was in the natural, it's obvious that he still had faith on another level. What some of us got to do is not allow our natural situation to pull down our faith and expectation of God. He was a beggar, but he believed. He was a beggar, but he had expectation. He was a beggar, but he was determined to see change in his life. How do I know he did not allow his natural condition to lower his spiritual expectation? Because the word says when he heard that Jesus was passing by, he didn't wait for Jesus to talk to him. He didn't wait for the attention to come to him. But he opened his mouth and cried out to him. One of the challenges we face, brethren, is we're too cool to get delivered. We're too cute to really be set free. You don't get delivered being cool. No. You don't get a breakthrough being cute. If I told you just hit Powerball, you break both heels, get one run in the stocking, lose half the weave, and guess what? You wouldn't care. But when it comes to us receiving what God can do for us, which money cannot buy, we get cute. We get reserved, dignified, sophisticated. Then we got the audacity to say it really doesn't require all of that. It doesn't. It doesn't take all of that. But he opened his mouth and said, listen, I'm going to display not desperation, but I'm going to display how determined I am to see change happen in my life. When he opened up his mouth and said, Jesus, thou son of David, have mercy on me. It got somebody's attention. It says those around him said, be quiet. You screaming too much. Shut up. Your voice is too loud. It's making me uncomfortable. And it was at that moment where he was at a critical crossroad. I hear Jesus talking around me. But these folk telling me, be quiet. But he's got what I want. So I've got a decision to make. Watch this, because this is where some of us are. He's at the critical crossroad of making a decision whether or not to be quiet and be accepted by them, or to cry out the more and be delivered by him. Do I want to be accepted or do I want to be delivered? I don't know how you feel about it, but I bet you ought to make up in your mind, to hell with them. You ought to tell somebody, I want to be delivered. He said, I don't want to go out to eat no more. You don't have to invite me to the movies. You don't have to be my friend on Facebook. But I made up in my mind, I will be. So it says, he cried the more a great deal. I just want to talk to you tonight. He cried the more. Look at somebody, tell them just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Because the first cry he made got the attention of people. And believe it or not, even in 2011, there are some folk that still seek the attention and approval of people. Don't nod your head yes, because the person controlling you might get mad. That's why some of you couldn't even get your praise on tonight, because your pew captain didn't give you the okay. You know, your section coordinator didn't give you the release for you to give God a praise. But I dare you to tell that devil around you, you don't control me. I'm not here for you. I'm not here for your approval. I want to be delivered. So Pastor, I had a few years ago, we were making decisions at the church and doing some things some of our leaders didn't agree with. Yeah. And they said, well, maybe we got to vote. What is that? That's a 4-letter word to me. And that ain't good for leadership. Because there's some stuff dealing with kingdom you don't vote on. We don't need to vote if we're going to add more prayer meetings. Why we need to vote if I require leaders to come to Bible study? Why we got to take a vote? Y'all don't like this type of teaching. Well, why we got to vote if before you could serve, you got to come to Sunday school? So I said, well, listen, you might need to find a church that's going to let you vote. Because we're going to do what God told us to do. And if you get mad with what God told us to do, don't kill the messenger. Talk to God about it. He made up in his mind, I'm not going to listen to people. Why is that imperative to deliverance? Because if people really wanted your life to be better, they would not stop you from doing what you're doing that will bring about better. I had a motto. It's been 2 years now. I've been holding on to it, Pastor Dale. I think I told you a few years ago I obtained a motto. It's my personal mission mandate that simply says, if you don't want the best for me, I don't need you next to me. You see, I'm going to put it on a t-shirt. I'm going to get a bumper sticker. I'm going to put it on my Facebook status. Just look at somebody. It makes you sleep better at night when you say that. Look at somebody. Just get some good practice in and say, listen, this is how I roll. If you don't want the best for me, I don't need you next to me. You holding me down. You holding me back. You holding me up. You're stopping my deliverance. If I got to go by myself. Oh, I feel God in here tonight. So he opened his mouth and cried the more. Jesus, have mercy on me. He wasn't sugarcoating it. He wasn't being politically church correct. He didn't care if anybody heard him. In other words, he said, change my situation. And when he cried the more, look what your Bible says. I'm going to just walk through it and we're going to go home. It says, Jesus stood still. Jesus can't walk away from a cry for change. What causes God to keep stepping by you is a cry for attention. There's a difference. He wasn't crying out to Jesus for attention. He already had attention. They already called him a blind beggar. They were already avoiding him every time they saw him on the street side. He already had attention. He said, I'm not crying for attention. I'm crying for the change. And when Jesus heard the sincerity in his voice, not for attention. Look at somebody, tell them it ain't about you right now. It ain't about you. It ain't about your title. It's not about your position. It's not about how long you've been in the church. It's not about how long you served. That ain't important now. There's some people crying out for change in their life. They can't even get to the altar because them attention seekers beat them there every Sunday. We got some folk. We got some folk come to the altar every Sunday. Same stuff. I see them coming. I walk the other way. They shaking from the pew. They shaking down the aisle. They coming to, I already know. I'm like, what's wrong this week, bro? What's wrong this week? Says, I'm going through. I'm like, we talked about this last Sunday. Same place, same time, same story. What's different? And all they want is attention. I done preached 2 services. After both services, they got to come up. Pastor, I need to talk to you. I'm going through something this week. I'm going to have to set up an appointment to talk. What more we got to talk about? All this preaching, Sunday school, Bible study, intercessory prayer meeting, and we still got to talk? So let me tell you what I did. Want to hear it? Here you go. I said, all right, all this counseling y'all need. Everybody need to be counseled. Everybody need to talk. My wife's a licensed mental health special therapist, licensed in child play therapy and clinical counselor. I said, everybody that need counseling, y'all go to the counselor. I'm not going to be there. And all of a sudden, Candy, First Lady Staley, all the counseling requests ended. Everybody fixed. I said, now, when she was doing it, nobody wanted counsel. When they thought I was doing it or one of the elders, everybody lining up. And she said, let me tell you what the assessment is. Seemed like to me. See, and that's when you want to sound real professional in your assessment of the situation. Seemed like to me that they really didn't want change. They wanted attention. They want to sit up in somebody's face and let them baby them and just give them some sweet words in their ears and stroke their egos and let them just talk about nothing with no definitive direction on what they should do when they get up from the table and leave the room. And God is telling us, I'm tired of those that want attention. I want to bless those that want change in their life. And Bartimaeus said, I'm not calling you Jesus. If I wanted attention, I would have stopped after my first cry. Because all the people were focused on me. When they told me be quiet, they told me to sit down, they told me to accept the reality of my condition, but I cried the more for change. So he possessed a relentless attitude. And when he cried the more, the word says Jesus stood still, looked at him and said, come to me. Bring him to me. And listen to what he did. It says he removed his garment. It's a 3-step process to change. He removed his garment. He realized that I don't need to be wearing this anymore where I'm going. it in scriptural terminology. He took off the garment of heaviness, put on the garment of praise, because he realized that my heavy days are over now. And in order, watch this, for me to do the next step, I've got to complete this necessary step. The second thing Bartimaeus did in the word, it says, he arose. He removed, then he arose. I'll say it again for those on the short bus. He removed, then he arose. The reason why some of our lives can't get up is because you're still wearing stuff that's too heavy for your next season, that's unnecessary in your next level. Look at somebody and tell them, I'm taking you off. I gotta take you off. That negative attitude that's always around me, I gotta take that off. Those small-minded people that don't want nothing for their own selves and definitely don't want nothing for my life, I've got to take you off. So he took it off and he arose. When he got up, it says he walked to Jesus. Your journey to Jesus becomes a whole lot easier when you remove weights and people and mindsets and spirits that's been keeping you stuck where you were. Now, I'm of the mindset that if I'm going to stay stuck in something, it's going to be because of me. I'm not going to stay stuck because of you doing something to me. So he took them off, got up, walked to Jesus. This blew my mind. When he got to Jesus, Jesus said, Bartimaeus, you tell me what you want. He said, King James translation says, what will thou have me to do for you? In other words, he said, your wish is my command. No, maybe a little clock, sister. Name it, claim it, it's yours for the asking. He said, whatever you want, I'll do it for you. That blew my mind. I've been taught all my life, Pastor Jackson, you know my story, that in order for me to receive anything from the Lord, I've got to ask him. They even made a song about it. Call him up. Tell him what you want. He on the main line. Tell him what you want. So I've always been taught in order for anything to happen to me, I've got to ask him to do it, and then he'll decide whether or not, I can handle it, whether or not I'm ready for it, and then determine whether or not the time and the place for me to receive it. But in this instance, Jesus said to him, tell me what you want me to do. I'm giving you the Black American Express. Some of you like, what's that? You ain't there yet. You still carrying folk. You can't even be exposed to that level of favor yet. The Black American Express card, for those of you who are familiar with this in the business world, it's a card that you can apply for. The company has to seek you out, watch this, based upon past financial accomplishments, status, and achievement.